Egypt? How do I make my money? And what obstacles did I face transitioning from the US to Egypt? My name's Gisselle. I've been living in Egypt for almost 3 years, and today I'm going to be answering questions from you guys, the subscribers. Yalla bina. Hello and good beautiful morning from Cairo. Today is a 20,000 subscriber special. Ow! I'm actually not sure if we have reached 20,000 or not, but we are getting close, and that's what matters. All thanks to you guys. So thank you so much for your continued support, commenting, interacting, watching my videos. Any kind of support has made a huge difference for me. Really, I wouldn't be here without you guys. Hello. And I really do love interacting with you guys. So yeah, I'm very happy to be growing every day through you guys. And I love interacting with you guys. I love commenting, reading people's comments, hearing about other people's experiences in Egypt, running to people on the street, subscribers on the street here in Cairo. Oh, really? Hey, it's a subscriber. Hi. Nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Yunnan.
Yunnan. Ah, Greece.
Greek Egyptian.
Aha, cool. So it's really an amazing platform that I'm able to share my love with Egypt, and others are able to share in that love as well. So in honor of that, I made a community post asking people if they had any questions for me about anything, cats, Egypt, myself, whatever. And I heard back. Yay! Alhamdulillah. A lot of people wrote in. I expected more questions about Egypt, to be honest, than myself, but there's quite a few about myself. So I might not answer everyone. If I don't, it's because I don't know the answer, or maybe it's just a little bit too personal and I don't feel like it. Whatever. So we shall see. But yeah, I had quite a few questions, and I will be speaking a little bit about my experiences here. So without further ado, let's go get some coffee. Where should we sit? I kind of want somewhere quiet, but maybe here is fine actually. Yeah. All right, this is our spot to answer questions. Gonna order a coffee and then I'll turn the camera back on. All right, so the first question is from Vera F1977, and I recognize that name. You comment a lot and you are a regular viewer. Thank you so much. Also a cat lover. So her question is, what job do you do? And I got that question from a lot of people. So that is a big question people want to know. My job is an English teacher. I teach English for a living. I can elaborate on that more, but other people ask other questions, so I will get into more detail about that further on. The next question is from 3 hours 8172, and he says, how do you afford to live in Egypt? How do you make your income? How did you start living abroad and able to make money? That's a good question as well. So like I said, I work as an English teacher. That's how I make my money. How did I start living abroad? That's a lengthy answer, perhaps. And I guess I could go back to another question by Zach's Adventures. Tell us a bit about yourself. So I love traveling, and before coming to Egypt, I was traveling as well, but I got a late start into traveling. I didn't start traveling until like my mid-20s, mid to late 20s. And I would say my first solo backpacking trip is really what set it off. I had been traveling before that. I was living in New York City. I've been traveling to Jamaica and Paris and Peru, but they were short trips and I was with people for part of the time. So this was my first solo backpacking trip when I went to Southeast Asia in 2018. And I was planning to travel just for 3 months and then go back to New York and continue my life there. But while I was in Southeast Asia, I met a lot of amazing people, and opportunity came up where I was able to go to Australia. So I decided, screw it, I'm not going back to New York. And I was actually paying for my apartment while I was traveling. Stupid, I know, but I was planning to go back. So I had all my stuff there. And when I decided I wasn't going to go back and I was going to move to Australia for a while, I had my friend in New York empty out my apartment, put everything on the street, sell it, I didn't care. So basically what I took to Southeast Asia for my 3-month backpacking trip is what ended up being all my worldly possessions. I got rid of everything in a very spontaneous moment, and then I flew to Australia with a working holiday visa, and I lived there for a year, working a lot of different jobs. I can get more into that, I guess, because someone else asks what I did before YouTube, but yeah, so there's some flies out here. This is why I carry the hand fan. So if you're coming to visit Egypt, bring a hand fan, not just for the heat, but the flies. Yeah, so in Australia, I did a lot of different jobs, and then I saved up money while I was living in Australia. I went to India after Australia and spent 3 months backpacking around India by myself, of course. I'm traveling alone here. After India, I went to Nepal for 2 months, and that was amazing. This journey really did change the course of my life. I was taking local transportation. I was on a very strict budget of like $30 a day while I was traveling in these countries for accommodation, transportation, food, sightseeing, everything, you know. So after 3 months in India and 2 months in Nepal, I started running out of money again, and I had been in Vietnam previous to going to Australia. You know, I was in Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore, Laos and Vietnam, and I loved Vietnam, so I went back there to start working. And I have a TEFL certificate, which I actually got many years ago. TEFL is like a certificate to teach English to second English ESL learners, English as a second language or as a foreign language. So, and I've done that on and off over the years, but not a lot, not consistently. So going back to Vietnam, I was tutoring little kids in Vietnam. I was just getting settled. I was applying for different jobs at schools. I was looking for an apartment, and things transpired that I needed to go back to the US. Very briefly was my intention. And I hadn't seen my family in a while, in a few years, my mom, my brothers, sisters. So I went back to the US with the intention of going back to Vietnam right after Saigon, where I was living. And while I was in the US, doing some things, getting things fixed that I needed to address, the pandemic started, and I got stuck back in America, back in my home state of Minnesota, which I'm not a huge fan of, and I never really have been, to be honest. So that was kind of a bummer, but also a blessing in disguise, if you want to call it that. It was fortunate that I was there because I was able, again, to catch up with family, but also get a lot of things in order which I hadn't planned before. So to start that transition, getting a better laptop so that I was able to teach English online if I wanted to do that. I was teaching online as well while back in the US and working multiple other jobs. I was working like crazy through the pandemic, 80-hour weeks, to save money so that when things opened up a little bit, I could get out of the US again. So yeah, that was kind of a little background into like how I started traveling solo, how I started living abroad. It was very spontaneous. A lot of it was unplanned, and I just kind of went with it. But I was able to renew my passport. I got my motorcycles license. I just took like a course so that I would be legal to drive in other countries, because previous to that I was not. And a lot of times I wasn't riding motorcycles. I was on the back of people's motorcycles. So yeah, I mean, I got all my documents in order, new bank cards, everything that you're gonna wanna have ready for when you move abroad. And I was actually planning to go back to Asia. I wanted to go back to Vietnam, but Asia was closed for so long that I got frustrated waiting, and I was like, I have a lot of money I've saved up working for 2 years, like 80-hour weeks, and I just want to go. And I started looking at other places around the world. What is open? Where have I always wanted to go? And Egypt was one of those countries. Now, I wasn't actually planning to stay in Egypt either. I was going to be here for 3 months traveling, then I was going to continue on to other countries. I was thinking maybe go to Jordan after for like 2 weeks, then go to Mexico, hang out on the beach, teach English out there, and then I was planning, rough plan of course, I left it open, to go to Argentina, where my father is from, and I was going to live there for a year, and then figure it out from there, you know, see what I felt like. Maybe stay longer in Argentina, maybe not. But of course I arrived to Egypt and I fell in love with the country. I decided to stay a little bit longer, and it turned into, well, now I've been here for almost 3 years, and I'm loving it. But other people have questions that I can kind of circle back to some of these topics. So yes, he says, how did you start living abroad and able to make money? That was how, you know, was using my past experience of teaching English, and also in Australia I did construction, I did random jobs, you know. Wherever I go, you can find a way to make money, to survive, to volunteer at hostels so you get a free bed and free breakfast. There's many ways to be able to make it happen. It just takes determination, some planning, some luck maybe. So yeah, thank you for your question though. Next question is from Ahmed Elithi 354. I was wondering, what was your job before becoming a YouTuber? Are you going to stay in Egypt forever? So yeah, my job before YouTuber, I've done a lot of different things. When I was very young, I was waitressing, I worked in sales, I've worked in tourism, I've worked in construction in Australia, and sales and coffee shops, a lot of odd and end jobs just to make some money. Obviously teaching English as well. So yeah, I've done a lot of different things, working in warehouses. And am I going to stay in Egypt forever? I don't like to use the words forever for anything, because I like to keep things open. I go with the flow. I'm very chill, and if opportunities arise, if it sounds like my heart says yes to it, then I go with it. But I will say I'm loving living in Egypt. I have no plans to move anywhere else in the foreseeable future. So yeah, I plan to stay in Egypt for many years to come, inshallah. Anton Michael. So he has 2 questions. First, do you work remotely from Egypt? Little personal question, what do you do for a living? So to answer that question, yes, I do work remotely, actually. So I'm an English teacher, but I work online. And I did think about getting a job at a school, but then I decided, why would I do that when I can stay online and have this remote freedom? So although I've been in Egypt for a long time, I have taken trips on my motorcycle across the country. I was working then as well. With less hours, but I was still teaching when I would arrive to the next town or city. When I went to Turkey briefly in 2022, so after arriving in Egypt, I was teaching in Turkey. And almost a lot of these trips that I take, I am also working from my computer. And I would not be able to do that if I was teaching in a school. So yes, that is that question. Number 2, why do you prefer Egypt rather than other countries, including the US? Well, I definitely can say why I prefer Egypt to the US. I just wasn't very happy living in the US. I think it just comes down to personal preference. What do you prefer? What do you enjoy? I've always loved traveling. I've always had a fascination with traveling. I want to experience and see the world. And I've gotten this question many times in the past from other people, and I want to be clear that I know that I'm very fortunate to have been born in the US. I'm very lucky to have that passport and to be able to make US dollars or have a US bank account, or there's a lot of perks to having a strong passport, strong citizenship from a strong nation, you know? So I'm very fortunate for that. I wouldn't give up my US passport unless I could replace it with a equally strong or stronger passport. But yeah, the life there, it is very expensive. So although you can make a lot, you can spend it all on your bills. I do feel like there's a lot of politics these days as well. I mean, I haven't even been there in like almost 3 years, but people are very divisive. You know, there's a lot of great things about the US. Maybe I'm just like the wrong person to ask about that. I find it a little bit boring. It's not interesting. It's my culture. I'm too familiar with it. And so, yeah, I love living in Egypt. But I travel to a lot of countries and I love them all. And I could probably live for a short time at least in almost any country that I've gone to. I really enjoy traveling. But Egypt has really stolen my heart. And I think I will answer that more in depth because someone has a similar question. So let's continue and circle back to that as well. Amir Mograbi. Yeah, so Amir Mograbi asks, what are your long-term plans? How long do you think you'll stay in Egypt? Again, not really sure, but for the foreseeable future, probably for many years to come. You know, it's a good base. It is a good location for travel. You have Europe to the north, all of Africa to the south, and like Middle East around me. Like there's many countries that I'm interested in traveling to that are nearby. And of course, I just love living in Egypt. But I'll tell you why I love living in Egypt more later. So, It's Finn and Nacho asks, do you make your money in Egypt, or do you have a job you can earn from afar, American or European salary? And that is a good question as well. So another big reason that I wanted to stay online, besides the remote freedom, was the fact that I do get paid in US dollars. So, and that goes a lot further, at least in Egypt. Now, obviously, I'm not making what I do or what I could in the US, so it is significantly less. But because it's still US dollars, I can lead a comfortable life here, whereas I wouldn't be able to survive in America with what I'm doing now. I would have to charge my students more or get a different type of job or work more hours. So yeah, I definitely make a lot less than what I could in the US, but I'm happy living here and I'm willing to earn less money to be happy. You know, money is not everything. So yeah, I make US dollars. It's good for Egypt, but it's definitely not what it could be, and I know a lot of English teachers earn more, but I'm okay with it. 3 Hours asks another question. Do you drink the tap water, or have you been drinking filtered or just bottled water since living in Egypt? Bottled water. At my home, I have a water filter over the tap, so I always drink tap. I have drank in tap water without it being filtered, but a little bit of a funny taste. And yeah, I mean, a filter over the tap is what I always do. So I drink bottled water, or at my house I'll fill up bottles, empty bottles, with the tap water, but it's filtered. Omar Hassan 95. What are your plans for the future? Do you think you will stay here in Egypt long term? Stay here in Egypt long term, being that you are from America? So yeah, my plans for the future, I keep them open. I'm hoping that YouTube grows. I want to travel more. I want to explore more of the country here in Egypt on my motorcycle. But I also have a lot of other countries that I want to visit. So, you know, live in Egypt and take small trips when I can, where I can. All right, so the next question is from user BR8PR, a lot of numbers and letters there. Why did you choose Egypt as a place to settle down? And how long are you intending to stay? Is it temporary? And what is your zodiac sign? And are you single? Best wishes. So, like I said, you know, I was very spontaneous. I wasn't planning to stay in Egypt, but I fell in love with the country, and so that is why I am still here. I'm planning to stay for the foreseeable future. My zodiac sign, I'm a Leo, and no, I am not single. I have a boyfriend. Best wishes. Next question from Mahur TV. Are you planning to visit other countries in Middle East? I mean here Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Lebanon, etc. Yes, absolutely. I want to visit a lot of different countries. Lebanon, I would say, is probably like Jordan, Lebanon, and Morocco are the ones that I'm very interested in visiting first, but I plan to visit a lot of different countries when I have more time and more money to go to these places. Actually, I would love to drive my motorcycle to Jordan. That is something that I'm trying to work out for the future. But you need a special permit to drive a motorcycle through Sinai, the Sinai Peninsula, and I am not sure how to obtain that. So I'm planning motorcycle trip later this winter, but not to Jordan, just around Egypt. So in the future though, I am trying to figure out how to get that permit. So if anyone has any information on where or how to go get this permit, I would love that. Leave a comment if you have any idea. I've reached out to people that I've seen on motorcycle, but I've never heard back from them on Instagram and things like that. So I don't know how they got those permits. So yeah, the people that I saw that had driven motorcycle through the Sinai Peninsula were Egyptian. I don't know if that makes a difference with the permit, but if anyone has any information, let me know. But yes, eventually I do want to visit a lot of these different countries. He asks another question. Can you brief your experience in Egypt? I don't know if I can brief my experience. That's a lot, you know. What specifically? Maybe I can answer this in a future comment, but what do you mean? Briefly describe my experience? Because I've been here for almost 3 years. I feel like a lot has happened. I've seen a lot of different parts of the country. Yeah, I mean, I could say it's I love it, obviously. I'm here for a reason. It's beautiful. The summer's too hot. My Arabic sucks. I need to improve. So I struggle with a language barrier at times. These are negatives, of course. The dress code can be a little bit frustrating to me sometimes because I'm from the West, I'm from America, and we wear very little clothing there in hot weather, you know, short shorts and little dresses and exposing the shoulders, and so I've had to, what should I say about that? I've had to like adapt to that a bit. So yeah, those would be the negatives though. What do I love about Egypt, which someone else asks later? Everything. The people are the best part, of course. They're kind, generous, funny, welcoming, friendly. I mean, I've been invited into people's homes that I don't even know to have dinner with their family and meet their mother, and I've been invited for tea on the side of the road. When I was riding my motorcycle across Egypt last year, anytime I pulled over to like stretch, take a break, smoke a cigarette, whatever, trucks or passing vehicles would stop and ask if I was okay, if I needed anything, do I need water? So yeah, the hospitality of Egyptians is overwhelming, and they're very funny, very sarcastic. I wish I spoke the language better so I could understand some of the jokes, but they have a reputation. You guys, Egyptians have a reputation for being humorous and sarcastic. So I'm sarcastic as well, so I love it. The food, of course, though, is delicious. The music is beautiful. The landscapes are incredible. There's a lot to love about Egypt. So yeah, my experience here has been overwhelmingly positive, which is, of course, why I'm still here. He has another question. How long are you going to stay in Egypt? Will you go back to the U.S.? No, I'm never going back to the U.S. I mean, for a visit maybe, but I am never going back to the U.S. Even if I decide to leave Egypt at some point in the future, I'm not going to go to the U.S. I will go live in Argentina or Spain, or I don't know, I'll just continue being a digital nomad, living in different places for short periods of time, but no interest in going back to the U.S. ever. So I can confidently say that. Number 4, adding Arabic subtitles will increase the views considering the amount of Arabic speakers and viewers. That I agree with. Unfortunately, I do not speak Arabic well, let alone write subtitles. So I cannot do that, especially for every single video. Now, my boyfriend does help me. My boyfriend is Egyptian and he helps me write subtitles for certain things. Even if I'm speaking to someone and I think I can understand them, I'm not positive that I'm translating or understanding exactly what they say, not confident enough to put that into subtitles in a video. So my boyfriend helps me write subtitles in the videos when people are speaking Arabic, and I translate it into English for the English viewers. But there is a setting on YouTube where you can turn on Arabic titles. You just need to go into the video, turn on subtitles, the CC, go to settings, click on subtitles again, and then there should be like an automatic subtitles, and you can select your language, Arabic or Spanish or whatever. So yeah, maybe someday when I'm very fluent in Arabic, I can add Arabic subtitles myself, but it is a lot of work. I'm not willing to pay anyone to do that. I don't want my boyfriend to do that. It's you know, sometimes I barely make a video in time to upload on Sunday, and I want to remain independent. So I do everything myself. I make my own videos, I make my own thumbnails, I record it. There's just me and the camera, you know, no one else is recording me. I don't have help with any editing. So because I want to remain independent, I'm not going to be relying on anyone else to translate. And I also, like I said, I'm not like super rich here, so I don't want to pay someone. So for all of those reasons, there's not. But you can turn them on in YouTube. Let's see, number 5, he says, short videos are now a trend on YouTube. Why are you not having it? Because I'm lazy. I should start making shorts again. Usually my shorts are actually just short clips of like the longer form videos anyways, but I am very busy, you know, like I'm teaching English, I'm taking Arabic classes, and I'm making videos once or twice a week. So all my free time is spent making YouTube videos, and to add shorts on top of that is very difficult. So I usually just focus on my long form videos because I want them to be good, and I don't want them to suffer and not be as good quality because I'm busy making shorts. So I should start uploading shorts. Maybe I will, but you know, I haven't consistently, and I haven't done that a lot because it is time consuming and I have very little time as it is. And last question he has is creating a playlist for each city or country you visit where you can include all the details there. That's a great idea. I actually have a lot of playlists because most of my videos are in Egypt. I have a lot of different playlists like Egyptian cuisine or my motorcycle rides. Informational videos where you'll find information about like visas and SIM cards and transportation and things like that. But you can only have a certain amount of playlists on YouTube, and I've reached my limit. So I can't actually separate all the videos into playlists as much as I would like. So, but yes, thank you for your comment, Mahur TV. Thank you for your insight. Next question, Charmaine Arnold, which I also recognize that. How did you meet your handsome boyfriend? Thank you, he is handsome. I met him here in Egypt. I came to Egypt alone in October of 2021. I didn't know anyone. I bought a one-way ticket and I met him while I was here. I'm not gonna really elaborate on that more because I feel it's my private life and I like to keep it a little bit private, but I met him here in Egypt, in Cairo. So a little kitty just came by and I carry around a bag of cat food so that I can feed the strays. And thank you, by the way, for the donations that people have made. Like Robert for sure donates to the cats all the time, and that allows me to buy more cat food for these little guys. Hi, baby. There's only one now, but there can be a whole crowd of cats very quickly out here on the streets of Cairo. All right, so back to the questions. Roxy Diaz 1, also recognize that. A lot of these people, I recognize the names as regular viewers and commenters. Thank you so much for watching, Roxy. So her question is, what obstacles did you experience transitioning from the US to Egypt? And I think I kind of answered that already actually, but I love traveling. I don't miss the US much at all. I don't really miss anything from the US, in fact, except for like my family and maybe like American barbecue sometimes. So I didn't experience a lot of difficulties. I mean, aside from like the climate is hot, there's a language barrier, you know, the culture, but more so about dress code was a little bit difficult for me to accustom myself to that. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was too difficult for me to transition, to be honest. I mean, I really love it here. I'm not missing much anywhere else. I love it here. In fact, when I leave Egypt, and I have gone traveling a lot, I always miss Cairo, and I'm always happy to return. So I would say there weren't too many obstacles, you know, aside from the ones I've mentioned. She also asks, what requirements do you need to meet? What requirements do you need to meet as an American living in Egypt? That's a good question. I mean, it depends on what you're doing here, how long you're planning to stay. There's a lot of different requirements, you know. Like when I first came, I wasn't planning to stay, so I was on a tourist visa. And I extended my visa quite a few times, my tourist visa, because I still wasn't planning to live here. Like after 3 months, I extended it, and I got a 6-month extension, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out for 6 months, cool. And then I extended again, but I was traveling. I went to Turkey. Since I've been in Egypt, I've gone to Turkey, Bali, Dubai, Europe, so I have gone in and out of the country traveling and working from other countries. So yeah, the requirements are going to depend, honestly, on your purpose of being here. There's student visas, there's work visas, there's people that get married and stay in Egypt, there's people that just stay a long time on a tourist visa, which you shouldn't be doing, but people do it. Yeah, I think that's something that you're gonna have to research, because I honestly can't answer that. It depends on your nationality, your reasons, a lot of different documents, so yeah. But it's information you can find about that online. Anything that I would tell you is something that I would also find online as well. So let's see. SK Pop asks, what is your name? My name is Gisselle. She asks, how old are you? I'm 36. I just turned 36 actually. My favorite color is turquoise. My height, I'm 5'5", which is I think like 165 centimeters. I'm used to the imperial system, measuring system of the US, but I know that I've ran into a few Egyptian subscribers on the streets, and they've always said, I thought you were taller. I'm like, oh, excuse me. So yeah, I'm 5'5", not short, not tall. My sign, I'm a zodiac, Leo is my zodiac sign, like I mentioned earlier. Do I have a lover? Yes, I do. I have a boyfriend. He's from Cairo. And what's your nationality? I'm American. I'm from the US. Next question from Judith Martin, 6896. Hello, Judith. Another regular viewer. I know you comment and interact on the channel a lot. Thank you for writing in. Her question is, what's the #1 thing you love most about Egypt? I like that question. I think I already answered it, but the people. The #1 thing I love about Egypt is the people. My friends are Egyptian, my boyfriend is Egyptian, and people are just super friendly and welcoming. Yeah, and they love to joke around. I have a lot of fun with Egyptians. When I'm out filming, everyone's always like, hey, in the camera. So yeah, #1 reason that I love Egypt, the people. And then she has another question here. And of all the ancient wonders, which is your favorite? That's a tough question. I have been to a lot of ancient sites. I have to say, I think my favorite currently, I haven't been to all the ancient sites, even though I've been here for a long time. There's so many ancient sites. It's crazy. But I really loved Meidum Pyramid and Mastaba 17 near the Fayoum Oasis. That was incredible to me. And also the Temple of Hathor, or Dendera Temple, in Kina, which is north of Luxor, for those of you that don't know. I think a big reason that I like ancient sites more than others is because of the lack of tourists, to be honest. Like, both those places did not have that many tourists when I went. When I went to Meidum Pyramid, it was virtually empty. Actually, it was just me. So I got to explore the entire site on my own, crawling through a tunnel built by grave robbers, dug by grave robbers thousands of years ago. I mean, yeah, being able to explore these ancient sites is a completely different feeling when you are by yourself and not having crowds and crowds of tourists. Like, I can say one of the places that I probably hated the most was Edfu, in between Aswan and Luxor, and not because of the temple itself. The temple is incredible, and I wish that I had gone when it was empty, but I went down there and it was like an absolute zoo. So many people, and I just couldn't even appreciate or enjoy my experience there. So yeah, as someone who doesn't really like crowds of tourists taking tours, I think that affects my answer a lot. But there's so many incredible sites all over the country. Every single one of them has been great, but I would say those are my two favorite. All right, let's see who has another question. Andrea Balan, 8597. Do you or have you considered giving tours? And do you have contacts for guides at major sites? I do not, unfortunately, have any contacts to offer anyone. Again, because I don't do tours, touristic things. Like, I very, very rarely take tours or have a guide or anything. You know, like I'm exploring on my own, finding my own transportation, taking local transportation, and guiding myself around. I'm just walking around alone in Egypt or riding my motorcycle. So I don't have any tour guides that I can recommend, because plenty of guides have reached out to me and offered me tours, but I don't have any personal experience with anyone, so I don't want to recommend a guide or a tour company to someone that I don't know, you know? And what was the other question? Oh yeah, have I considered giving tours? I have considered it, and I did actually show some people around in Egypt a long time ago. But to be honest, I don't know if it's really my thing. I am, what should I say about that? It's a very difficult job showing people around. It's very exhausting work, and I think I like to just meet up with people and do what I want. So yeah, beyond that, if you're going to be a guide, you need a license. So like, legally you can't work as a guide unless you have a license here in Egypt. So yeah, I don't work as a guide, and even if I did have a license, which is hard work and a lot of, a lot of money and yeah, years of study to become a guide in Egypt, not like in New York or something. I think I would charge way too much because it's so exhausting. I'd be like, this isn't worth my time unless you pay me a lot of money. And there are Egyptian guides that need the work, that charge a lot less and have a lot more knowledge than what I would do if I were having a license. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have the history. I have not studied. An Egyptian guide would be a better option. All right, the next question is from Antonella Siri, 793. Better to buy the adapter to charge phones or tablet in our home country or in Egypt? More expensive in Egypt? Where to buy them in Egypt? Thank you. Yeah, actually, Antonella, I brought two chargers to show you here. Is it better to buy in your own country? Personally, I think yes, just because then you don't have to go out searching for it. Is it expensive here? No, I don't think so. And you can find them here in downtown. There's a whole lot of like electronic stores near Sinbad. Yeah, they're definitely available. You can find them. I can like leave a link or something to like the general street or area, but there's like little shops where you can get electronics everywhere. This is like what the charger looks like in Egypt. So it has the 2 prongs and you can charge your device. Obviously, I mean, I'm using that, and you can get one for maybe like a few dollars. It's not expensive, but I would recommend having an international adapter, just because I don't know which country you're coming from. In different countries use like different power levels or wattage. So I don't know much about electronics, to be honest, but I know that like certain places can damage your devices if it's not the correct power. So if you have an international adapter, it kind of protects that, and then you can use different ones for different countries. Like this has multiple ones that stick out for a lot of different countries, for Australia, the UK, Europe. This is also Egypt's one, Europe's, and you can stick it in and you have, yeah, a lot of different plugins if you buy an international adapter. So personally, I think an international adapter is a better choice if you're traveling, but you can buy this in Egypt. It's not very expensive. You can find them at any little store in downtown. User XP1 and some more letters and numbers. Please include more information on residence permit. Do you have to pay taxes in Egypt? So again, with the residence permit, I mean, my channel's more about travel, so I tell people how to extend their tourist visas in Egypt. But with a residence, it gets more complicated. I mean, there's different reasons that you can search online, but your nationality and your reasons for staying are all going to depend on that. So, I mean, you're just going to have to do that research on your own, because I don't have a lot of information to give you. It's specific to every situation. Sorry. And do you have to pay taxes in Egypt? Yes, if you're a resident of a country, you always need to pay the taxes to that country. And actually, I have to pay taxes to 2 countries. So for example, when I was living in Australia, I had to pay US tax and Australia tax. And that is true anywhere in the world for me as a US citizen. The US is one of the few countries in the world that makes people pay taxes to the US, even if you're not living there. You know, like I could be living 20 years in Spain or something, and I would still have to pay tax to the US as well as Spain. So yes, you have to pay taxes. Let's see, next question. Newbody Who Dis 2469 asks, what food is 100% safe to eat? Don't want a holiday to be ruined by bad food safety. Be that grocery stores, restaurants you recommend, etc. Unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer for that as well. Because honestly, food safety completely depends on you and your stomach and what you're accustomed to, and even just the day, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been sick in Egypt from food, except for one time when I went to Domino's Pizza. I've eaten Domino's more than just one time, and I never got sick, but then one time I did get sick. I've also been to restaurants with people visiting where I love these restaurants. I go to them like fairly often, and I've never been sick, but one of the people that I brought there got sick, but the other person did not get sick, and we all ate the same thing. So it's just a matter of like you and your stomach. Obviously there are precautions that you can take. So, I mean, I heard this a lot traveling around Southeast Asia. Don't, brush your teeth with the water. Don't eat salads or fruits that have been washed in the water. Don't eat street food in general. I ignored all of that. I always have. I'll get sick fine. And I think I've built up a stronger stomach for that reason, because I've thrown caution to the wind. If you're on a short vacation, I understand you not wanting to get sick and having days ruined. So, I mean, if you want to be overly cautious, avoid everything. Don't eat at street stalls, or if you are going to eat at street stalls, look to see that they are busy. You don't want to go to an empty street stall where there's a bunch of flies, you know what I mean? So if the food is being fresh and cooked fresh, and you know that because there's a lot of people there, so the food is getting turned over really quickly. So they're making it, they're selling it, they're making it, they're selling it. That's one way to avoid it. But yeah, I don't have there's no special key or answer. And like I said, the restaurants I could recommend you may or may not get sick, because someone I know did that when I went there with them. Bosnia Magnet Fishing asks, well, first they say, hello Gventures, cute cat. Yeah, that cat photo that I posted is cute. All these cats are very cute. I have a cat named Leia, it's a brown tabby. Here's a question. Which place do you like the best? Giza Pyramids or Valley of the Kings? Giza Pyramids. Why? Again, probably due to the fact that it's a large area, so there's not as many tourists. Now, it's a hard question to answer, actually. Like, I loved driving into the Valley of the Kings. I was on my motorcycle and going through this like winding roads through these like kind of cliffs and like small hills, desert hills, was beautiful. I loved that. But once you get into the actual area, there's a lot of tourists there. At least there was when I went. I went in winter. In summer, maybe it's a lot more empty, but I would also never want to travel to Luxor in the summer because the heat is just insane. It's hot in Cairo and this is north. In the south, whew, baby, it is hot. So yeah, personally, I would not, I would not want to go to Luxor, Valley of the Kings in the summer. And the crowds, yeah. So it's a smaller area. The Giza Plateau is very large. Obviously there's a lot of tourists there, but you don't necessarily feel it because you have such a huge area to walk around in. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to just go to the pyramids sometimes and like lay down in front of the pyramid and just listen to some music and stare at it. You know, you can just do that. So for me, Giza Pyramids, still my favorite when compared to Valley of the Kings. Karstensenim 7527 asks, do you have a health insurance? If yes, which one and how much? Or do you pay expenses out of your pocket? So when I am traveling, it depends on where I'm traveling and what I'm doing. Sometimes I have travel insurance, sometimes I don't. Right now, I don't. I don't have any kind of travel insurance. When I was paying for travel insurance, I was using Safety Wings, which I think is a really good, cheap nomad insurance, which you can activate even while you're traveling. The price depends on the package that you choose, and I think there's like an age limit to that company requirements as well. Another one is World Nomads, which I've also used. More expensive, but also good. But yeah, I don't have travel insurance here in Egypt. I got into a motorcycle accident like a year ago or something like that now, and I had to go to the hospital, and I had, you know, an injury. I'll show you guys how it looks now. Yeah, so I paid out of pocket for that, and I made a video about that. It was not expensive to get patched up, even with no insurance. I think it was like $60 or $100, you know. And I went, I took a taxi to the hospital, and I had stitches, and you know, they numbed it up, and yeah. So, no insurance. Pamela 330 asks, when you were growing up, did you ever imagine you would live in the Middle East or in a foreign country? I don't know if I imagined living. I dreamt of travel all the time. I fantasized about traveling. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be like an adventurer, explorer. I loved reading books about that. So I think I fantasized about it a lot and dreamt about it. Did I imagine like doing that in a particular country or place? I don't think so, but I dreamt about traveling and doing exciting things. So yeah, I would say I've always loved travel. I never imagined living in a particular country or part of the world, though. I just, in general, have always wanted to travel, always loved it. All right, we have a question from Clever1840. Hello, Clever. I recognize your username as well. What does it look like to immigrate alone to a country, alone to another country? It looks like this. I mean, it depends on who you are. Some people move to new countries and they hate it. Other people move to new countries and they love it. It depends on the kind of person you are. Are you going to miss your family and friends a lot? Do you, are you a sociable person? Is it easy for you to make friends? Do you care? Are you going to miss your country's food a lot? Or are you, there's so many different factors that go into moving to a new country and staying long term. It's one thing to travel, it's another to live in another place. I would say like a big thing that you need to make sure that you like when you move to a place is the food, for example. Because if you go to a country and you don't like their local food, I think that gets hard to live there very quickly, if you're constantly hating the food that is available. So I love Egyptian food, yay. But yeah, what does it look like to immigrate alone to a country? It's like travel until it's not, you have to, it can be lonely at times, it can be difficult at times, just like anything in life, it has its ups and downs. But yeah, it's kind of a big question, a little hard to answer. The other question is, could you please help us with some cheap countries for immigration and friendly people? Asia, South America, thanks love. Don't love that thanks love thing, but it depends on where you want to go and where you want to be. I don't think you should immigrate to a country because of the cost of living. You should go to a country because you like it, the culture, and you need to want to be in that country, not just for the price. So there are plenty of cheap places around the world to live, or countries with a low cost of living. Argentina, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. I'm sure like quite a few places in South America. Honestly, I don't know the cost of living in a lot of different countries, and it depends on what you're making and where you're from to compare that to. So I don't have a clear answer. But I think that you should just start traveling if you haven't, and if you like a place and it draws you in, then stay there longer and see if it's for you, So Jerry's Gibbs 161 says, speaking of cats, any idea on rules about moving to Egypt with a pet kitty cat? I moved to Ecuador with my elder kitty, but I've been eyeing Egypt as a potential next place to land. My baby's now 15, so I don't think I'd make her move that far, but I'm curious about the rules around pet travel to Egypt in any case. I'm not sure if I understand that question, to be honest. It sounds like you're asking more about flights and airlines and travel to Egypt versus in Egypt itself. Which I don't know. I've never traveled with a pet, Maybe other people that have can write in about that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stray cats here in Egypt. They're everywhere. I don't know, are you imagining like bringing your cat out? Then you'd have to be careful for the other cats on the streets, because you don't want your cat to get into a fight and get injured. But as far as flying, I know nothing about it, sorry. Battery keeps dying. All right, so Rifatarin 7417 asks, can you please suggest some hotels in Egypt which are budget friendly and best happening location near MRT and not far from Cairo, and also must visited places airport, also near must visited places. Love your videos. Thank you for watching. I'm glad you love my videos. So Egypt, very general, but you do mention Cairo, so I guess you're asking about budget friendly hotels in Cairo, near the MRT, and then near the airport. I'm just gonna say there's no hotels near the airport that are near visited sites. Like generally around the world, hotels near the airports are out of the city center. They're pretty far removed from everything, and there's usually not much to do around airports. And that is true here in Cairo as well. So I don't know, I've never stayed at a hotel near the airport. I wouldn't recommend it. If you want a suggestion from me, I would say downtown Cairo is your best option. I always recommend people to stay in downtown Cairo. I love it. That's where I stayed at a hostel for a long time before getting my own apartment. Yeah, it depends on your preference though. Downtown Cairo is in the center. It's near a lot of different ancient sites, so you can easily take a taxi, quick ride, not that expensive, to different locations like Khana Khalili, the Egyptian Museum is just here in Tahrir Square. You have Coptic Cairo not that far away, Islamic Cairo. A lot of different locations are near downtown Cairo, so that's what I would recommend. But I don't actually stay at hotels. I always stay at hostels, so I don't have any recommendations. I know some people have stayed at Cleopatra Hotel. I don't know if that's a budget-friendly place, but that is one option. Holy Sheet Plus is a hotel that I also have been to, visited. My friend works there, and it seems like a nice place and not too expensive. But again, yeah, I think I'm not the right person to ask for that because, you know, I live here now. I have my own apartment, and I never ever stayed in a hotel. I always stayed at hostels. Karstensenim 7527 has another question. Will you be fined, controlled, or stopped by police when you don't wear a helmet on the motorbike? No, maybe. It is a law that you're supposed to wear a helmet here, but there's a lot of laws that people just don't follow. So I have never been stopped by the police for not wearing my helmet. I have been on the back of an Uber though, and the Uber driver got stopped and fined for not wearing a helmet and for me not wearing a helmet. So generally speaking, no though. You've been to Egypt, I'm pretty sure. You see all the people driving around without helmets. You don't need to, unless the officer's in a bad mood and just feels like stopping you to give you a ticket. No, I would say no. Let's see, next question from George TN2QM. Is it possible to rent a motorcycle or scooter for a few weeks at a time? Any special license requirements? Actually, I've been asked this a lot from people in the comments over a long period of time, and I have no idea where you can rent a motorcycle or scooter in Cairo. It might be possible by the Red Sea, but I have been asked, and I have researched this and called places for people that were planning to visit, and I called a lot of different places that said it was rental. It was not. It's all about fixing, maintenance, or buying a motorcycle. So honestly, surprising as it is, I have never found a motorcycle rental place in Cairo. If someone does know, please leave a comment because I have been asked that so often and I don't know what to tell people. In my search, I have not found one. If you do manage to find one, maybe along the Red Sea or something, you should have an international driver's permit. That's what I have. I don't have an Egyptian license. I tried and they denied me. Trying again. George Usari, 5234. Which part of Cairo do you like the most? Which part of Cairo do I like the most? I love the whole city, man. I was about to mention Giza, but that's not Cairo technically at all. I guess I really like Islamic Cairo. I like the architecture over there and just wandering around, and yeah, I don't know. It depends on what you enjoy, but you are asking what part I like. I like downtown, I like Garden City, and I like Islamic Cairo the most, probably. But I move around a lot, and I'm also in Giza a lot. I like it all. Alright, this video is turning out to be very long. I think I'm just rambling. Let's go on to the next question. YouTube Channel says, can you recommend a trustworthy mechanic who can source original Benelli parts and doesn't try to overcharge or scam customers? Do you ever work on the bike yourself? No, I don't know any mechanic who can source original Benelli parts, to be honest. A lot of times my boyfriend actually helps me with a motorcycle and the mechanic stuff just because of the language, because the mechanics don't speak like any English, and yeah, it's very difficult to try to figure that stuff out, and I don't know a lot about motorcycles and how to fix it. I'm trying to learn a little bit, but I wish I had a mechanic that could actually explain things to me, but I can't. I've asked, and yeah, my language level is not good enough to learn about motorcycles in Arabic, definitely. So Sorry, I don't have any recommendations or answers for you on that. Next question, Dr. 300000. Why do you like Egypt? I think I did answer this by now, but I love Egypt because of the people, number one, but the music, the food, the landscape, the environment. I love everything about Egypt. It's a beautiful place. You have coastal cities along the Mediterranean Sea. You have cities along the Red Sea. You have desert oases. You have all these towns and cities and villages along the Nile. It's an amazing country, packed with history, delicious food. The music, really, I love Egyptian music so much, both old and new, and traditional and not. Yeah, it's an amazing place. I love Egypt for a lot of different reasons. I could go on at length, but yeah, it's a great country. Every day I'm happy to wake up here. The sun is shining. Even if it's really hot, I still like it. Let's see, I know life in New York is not that easy, which is why you're so tough. Nah, I wouldn't say that. Like, I don't think I'm tough for living in New York. I am tough though. What did you do for a living in the US? You're too young for retirement, so can I ask what your source of income is, if you don't mind sharing? Yeah, so my source of income is from teaching online, but I also make some money from YouTube. And yeah, that gets a little bit complicated, I guess, with YouTube, because it depends on who's watching. And from what country, that's like the ads playing. It depends on that and like how much money you receive. But I get some money from YouTube. Any money helps, right? So I'm doing okay with my two jobs combined. Yeah, and YouTube, when I first came to Egypt, it was actually I had like 400 subscribers. I started vlogging when I first came to Egypt, and those vlogs are really bad. I think they're a bit better now. Obviously, I still have a lot to learn, but it's increased a lot, so alhamdulillah. Did you get a chance to have Egyptian families as friends? For me, so many people adopted me in my short 2 years there. Yes, I've been to, like I said, people's homes. I've been invited for tea. I have Egyptian friends. My boyfriend's Egyptian, so yes, I've absolutely been in people's homes, and it's amazing. I usually don't film that though, because it's a personal experience and it's people's private homes, so it's not something that I want to blast on the internet for their privacy. Did you ever get invited to a wedding? Did you go to a funeral? I've not been to a funeral. Thankfully, I don't know anyone that's died, but I have been to a wedding, a few weddings. And I've been to an engagement party in Aswan, a Nubian engagement party. شكرا كله تمام لا كله تمام عندي مية شكرا. He remembers me from a video during Ramadan. Anyways, so yeah, I've been to a few weddings, an engagement party, and actually the engagement party I was invited to by the guy that was working at the hostel that I stayed at in Aswan. So like I said, the hospitality of Egyptians is incredible. They barely know you, and they invite you into their homes, into private events. I was very fortunate to have that experience. What is your education? I sense military background. Maybe because you are tough. How did you get an Egyptian driving license? What kind of fancy bike? Okay, no military anything. No, I have a problem with authority, I think. I don't like authority, and I'm not a big fan of military anything, so no military background whatsoever. I don't have my Egyptian driving license. I want it, but I'm struggling to get that as well. So I am just using an international driving permit, which I have to renew every year, and it's a pain in the ass. What kind of bike do I have? It's a Benelli VLR Sport, 200cc, and I love it. All right, and then the last question that we have here is, hey Gisselle, I'll be staying in Egypt for a year, possibly longer. Do you recommend me using a realtor or SimSat to find an apartment? Or do you think it will be easier and cheaper to book by month or booking.com? I don't mind hostels, I'm cool with that. I would prefer having my own private room and bathroom at a hotel or hostel since I'll be there for a while, but I thought an apartment might be better. I thought I could find one for 150 to 300 US dollars a month. I thought, I don't know. Anyways, I love your videos. Thank you so much. Maybe you'll see me on the streets. If you do, say hello. So yeah, Cassia Opal Hotels Group, 8409. Yeah, if you're just here to travel and visit, obviously just use the tourist visa and extend, you know, a lot of people do that and stay for a long time just hanging out, traveling around the country. If you are trying to find an apartment, I would recommend actually using like a SimSat or realtor because it's very difficult to find a decent apartment. And I get a lot of questions from people about apartment rentals and I don't have answers, I'm sorry for that. It is difficult to navigate those grounds. There's too many variables in regards to apartment rentals or even buying. Some people have asked me about that. I'm like, I don't have money to buy property. I have no idea. So yes, it's, you know, it depends on where in Egypt, first of all. And then if you're gonna say, let's say Cairo, what part of Cairo, what neighborhood? Is it gonna be an unfurnished apartment or a furnished apartment? How many bedrooms does it have? Is it a gated community, a compound? You know, there's so many factors that will tie into the cost and what you're able to find that I don't wanna make a video about this not because I don't want to help people, but because I'm not looking for an apartment and I don't want to waste people's time that are looking to rent out their apartment. So I'm not going to go meet someone and film their apartment when I have no intention of renting it. It's wasting their time and they might not even allow me to film in their apartment anyways. So for those people that have asked about apartment rentals, that is why I have not made that video. There's too many variables and I would struggle to make that, not to mention the language barrier. Yeah, so if you have an Egyptian friend, I would recommend recruiting your friend's help to find an apartment so that they can speak Arabic, so that you won't get like overcharged, so they can recommend you a neighborhood. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough question. If you don't care and you just want to be moving around in Egypt, stay at a hostel. Get a private room at a hostel for a long time, or find an apartment on like Alex. You can share an apartment with other people and just rent out a room. And then that can be fairly cheap. Again, it depends on what area, what neighborhood, but I mean, $150 to $300 a month is certainly possible. It just depends on where, what place, you know, the quality, all that jazz. But yeah, or you can even look at Airbnb, because then if you want your own private apartment, you could also do that. That's obviously going to be more expensive than renting a room, but it's another option. But it comes down to what you're comfortable with, you know. I stayed in hostels on my travels around the world for months and months and months. Like Egypt, I stayed for months in a hostel, in a dorm room, sharing with other people. In Vietnam for months. You know, I've probably lived in hostels for a year or two combined with all of my travels. So I'm okay with that because it's very budget friendly. But if you are wanting something private, maybe Airbnb, or if you can negotiate a long-term deal with a hostel to have your own private room, they might give you a discount because you're going to be staying there for many months. I have met people that have done that in hostels, like Dahab Hostel, Holy Sheet, Medina maybe. Yeah, so that's going to be up to you, but yeah, all right. Well, I think that is going to conclude the video, guys. I appreciate you watching this long-winded ramble of me answering questions, mostly about myself, not that much about Egypt, actually. I'm surprised by that, but yeah, thank you so much again for all of your support. I'm glad that you've been a part of this journey with me, you know, from arriving in Egypt with 400 subscribers to almost 20,000 subscribers now. So let's keep the journey going. I'm looking forward to growing and sharing more about Egypt with you guys and future travels as well, inshallah. So, all right, well, I guess I will catch you guys on the next one. Stay tuned for what's coming next. Thank you so much. مع السلامة.